Going to be making some pizza dough today in the bread machine. About a week or so ago, Eddie and I wanted pizza, homemade pizza, and the little packages from Walmart are fantastic, but they don't make really enough dough for leftovers. And I love leftovers. So I have this book called The Bread Machine Gourmet by someone named Shay Mackenzie. I got it either as a used book or a remainder or something like that. It is fantastic. Has everything I've made and from this book has come out great. Let me close in like that. I have a Breadman bread machine. Got it at Goodwill years ago for 10 bucks or something like that, and it has been fine, fantastic, and I'll be using that. So let's get started. Every bread machine is slightly different with what it requires. This one requires that the liquids go in first, so that's what we're going to do. The recipe I'm using is called half and half pizza dough because it's half white flour and half whole wheat flour. The recipe itself calls for bread flour, but I don't have bread flour, so I use regular flour instead. You cannot substitute anything for the wheat flour because the amount of liquid in this recipe is predicated upon the amount of wheat flour, and wheat flour soaks up more liquid than white flour. So if you try to use white flour through the whole thing, you will find your dough to be very, very liquidy. So let's get started. First of all, a cup of water and 2 tablespoons of oil. I've mixed them and I'm just going to pour them. I'm now going to put in 1 1/4 cups of wheat flour and 1 1/4 cups of white flour. Right on top, just like that. All right, now I'm going to do something superstitious that I do not do when I make bread by hand, but I'm going to put my salt, sugar, and yeast each in a different corner of the bread maker tub here. So here's my teaspoon of sugar, and here's my teaspoon of salt in another corner. Now this calls for 1 package of yeast. I don't use yeast packages. I buy bulk and keep it in the freezer. So 1 package of yeast is about 2 1/4 teaspoons. So I'm going to put 2 1/4 teaspoons in right now. And here goes my 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, or a package of yeast, into the 3rd corner. So every bread machine is different, but mine has a dough function, which is about 1.5 hours long. And it basically mixes the dough up and lets it rise and do all the things dough needs to do. And then when it's done, it beeps and I pull out of the bread machine and use it for whatever. So let's get started with that. So there it is. It got started. You can hear it, and we'll be back in about 1.5 hours and see how it all came out. Here it is. Bread machine just beeped. It'll deflate once I take it out, which is fine. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for a while because it's morning and we're not going to have pizza at this hour. But when we prepare our pizza, I'll show you how we use this. And here's a shot of Eddie preparing the pizza dough. We put cornmeal on the pan and put the dough on top of that. You can also use parchment paper. Spread it out by hand. It can be as thick or as thin as you want it. Depends on your preference. And then put your toppings on it and 400 degrees and you will have the perfect pizza. And here's a picture of Eddie's famous cheeseburger pizza. And I'll put the link at the bottom of the video of how to make that. Thank you so much for watching.